Hi everybody, my name's Michelle Merck. I go by the name Shelley. I teach at Algonquin Middle School and I'm a digital literacy teacher in the exploratory department. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the lessons that we do in our classes. One of the topics we tend to cover are digital safety lessons, or just basically common sense when being online, how to be safe online, how to be a good citizen, etc., etc. And one of the resources we use a lot is called Common Sense Media. They have a really great activity where you read different scenarios to students about situations that kids their age or maybe a little older than them may find themselves in, where they could be feeling pressured to connect with people online or share information online. And what we have them do is they hold up either a green card, a yellow card, or a red card, just like a stop light. And if they hold up green, they feel like this situation is safe. They're not giving away too much information. Yellow means that you should be cautious, that maybe you're not making the best choices right now. And then red would be absolutely not. Now it's too dangerous and you should stop. So when I'm reading the scenarios to the students, there'll be some pretty obvious things, hence common sense media in the lesson. Some of these things are pretty obvious to students, where you'll read the scenario, they'll all be holding up green cards, maybe some yellow, we have a good discussion about it. Some scenarios are definitely a lot of red cards go up. What they don't know is that one of the scenarios that I am reading off of my screen actually isn't written on the screen at all. It isn't a part of Common Sense Media. It's a story of something that happened to me. I'm looking at my computer screen so the students think I'm reading it, and I change the names. And once they're finished making their decisions, then we have a conversation about the fact that it really happened to me, and I tell them my story. So here's my story. So when I was a senior in high school, I had my first real job after turning 16. I worked at a Walgreens, and at that time, internet was much more common in individual households, and there were things like chat rooms, which were kind of fun. So one of the chat rooms I was in, I had a screen name that was completely not giving away any information. So it didn't include my name, it didn't include anything about me. And it was a chat room about a TV show. And so people who were in the chat room were basically just talking about what they like about the show, their favorite characters, favorite episodes, all that good stuff. And it was a perfectly innocent room to go sit and have conversations with people. Most of the people in there were teenagers as well, and again, just huge fans of the show. So over a period of months of being in this chat room, every now and then just popping in and having conversations, a little bit of information got out when I was talking to people. The only information that really ever got leaked was my nickname, which is Shelley. Again, it's not my full name, so it's not really giving away too much. The other information was that, I would usually say I was around the Chicago area, because most people who aren't anywhere near the area don't know all the little suburbs. But I did at one point mention that I was in a southwest suburb called Oak Lawn, which is a big town. Again, just knowing Shelley, Oak Lawn, not a whole lot. And then the last little piece of information, and mostly because I was excited for my very first job, I did mention that I worked at a Walgreens. Well, the Walgreens I worked at was only a few blocks away from my house, and most of the time I'd walk there, and I would maybe get a ride home, or I would have a friend come pick me up after work. And there were a couple times where, my family would give me a call and just let me know, hey, so-and-so's coming to get you today. Great. Well, there were some times, this is before cell phones, so it's not like I was getting my own individual call, where I would get a call to the store. My managers would say, you have a call waiting for you on line 1. So if I was finished helping customers, I would pick up the phone, and many times it would be somebody I knew. There were a lot of times for a short period, though, where I'd pick up the phone and I'd say, hello, and nobody was there. It was just dead. And so I would hang up thinking maybe someone got disconnected, and I would call home, and nobody really knew if somebody was trying to give me a call or not. They thought, well, maybe your dad was trying to call if I got my mom, or vice versa. So I didn't really think much of it. Well, there came a day where one of the girls working in the cosmetics counter was telling me, like, hey, your dad stopped by to come find you. And I said, oh, okay, is he still here? And she's like, no, he said he'd come back later. So I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe my dad was running some errands, because there were some other stores around the area. And I told her, well, if he comes back, let me know. I started to walk away, and I don't exactly know what possessed me to ask her this, but I asked her, what does my dad look like? Because at first I was like, I don't know why my dad would stop in the store to come talk to me. I'm not sure why I asked her. I just did, and she described him. She said he had glasses, long brown hair, full beard and mustache, wearing t-shirt, jeans, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, that's what my dad looks like when he was in high school. My dad is a military person. He was a first-class petty officer at the time in the U.S. Navy, and there's no way that my dad would, at that time, have long hair, full beard, and mustache. So this was not my dad. I put two and two together. I realized what was happening. Somebody was paying really close attention to me in that chat room over a long period of time. They knew those 3 pieces of information. They knew my name was Shelley, that I was in Oak Lawn, and I worked at a Walgreens. And they assumed that I probably worked at a Walgreens in Oak Lawn. So those phone calls where nobody was on the other line when I said hello, it wasn't my family or any friends. It was this person. They were calling every Oak Lawn asking for Shelley, and they found one where a Shelley answered the phone. It's not a really common name, so if it was like Jennifer or something like that, maybe it would have been harder for them to pinpoint me, but the fact that my name was relatively unique made me stand out. So I told the girl in cosmetics about this, and I said, I think this might be someone from the internet who I don't know. Please tell me if he comes back, and don't let him know I'm here, basically. So I was back to my job, and I was in the aisles. She ran to the aisle shortly after that and said, he's back. So I panicked. At that store and current Walgreens stores, you'll notice that they have doors for employees only where it has a padlock, a button padlock to get through the door. So I pushed the buttons. I went back there. It was about time for my break anyway, so I kind of stayed back there during my break. Did some cleaning, stayed a pretty long time, and came back out and asked if he was still there. And she told me no, he was not. So I walked around the whole store. I found all of the other employees who were there with me, all of my coworkers, including my assistant managers. I had 2, and my manager. And I told them all what was happening. I described the man who came, and the fact that the girl at the cosmetics, thought he was my dad leads me to believe he is not a teenager. And so I alerted them all to my concern and my worries. So when she had seen him the second time, she told him I was no longer there, that I was at home. So the hope was that he at least wouldn't return that day. But he did. So about an hour later or so, I was cleaning up in the aisles, which is typically, your job at a store when you're not busy helping customers. But customers will usually find you in the aisle too, and I heard somebody say Shelley. Again, I have a name tag on, so most people can figure out who I am. Or maybe another cashier told them, go ask Shelley or whatever. So I turned around, not really thinking much. However, when I turned around, it was the exact same man that the girl in the cosmetics counter described. Long brown hair, glasses. He was definitely in his 30s or older. And keep in mind, at this time, I'm 16 years old. I asked, hoping that maybe just so happened to look like somebody else, and it was just a customer needing help. I asked, yes, can I help you? And he said, it's me, Eric. I didn't know who he was. So I said, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. And he, again, was saying, I'm Eric from the chat room. So I was absolutely correct that this was a person who found me in the real world after just simply being in a chat room. And I asked what he wanted. He said he wanted to be friends. At that time, as terrified as I was, shaking, cold hands, the full gamut, I was very stern with him, and I said, I don't need any friends, especially not friends who aren't my own age. And everybody here knows who you are and what you look like, and you've been on camera now 3 times. If you return to the store, my managers and my coworkers know to call the police, and I need you to leave right now. I was extremely fortunate that day that he left. I let my parents know immediately when this all happened, gave them all the details, the information, described him, and at that point, my family never let me leave work by myself again. And if anyone was coming to pick me up, my assistant manager, one of my assistant managers, was an incredibly sweet man, and he was very big and intimidating looking. He would always walk me to the door and stand outside with me until he saw me get into a car with one of my family members. To this day, I will never know if this guy, Eric, was sitting in the parking lot waiting for his chance to get me. I don't know if he ever followed me home. I just don't know. And I am just extremely grateful that nothing really bad happened to me from that situation. But that was a terrifying lesson to me, that the little bit of information I shared was enough for somebody to find me online. If somebody is dedicated to finding a child in the real world who's online and they get enough information, they're going to go find that person. So one of the things that I hope you get from my sharing this story, and when I share it with my students, I hope that what they're really truly getting from this is that you can never be too safe, that the lessons that we provide for our own children as well as our students, it's never too little. It's never a bad thing to continuously remind them how important it is for them to be safe, to communicate with family and close friends, and make sure that they're always taking care of themselves. Thank you.